Want to get rich and famous by knowing some Kirby trivia? Then you're at the right place. Klaire Fluffle's Kirby Trivia of Caribbeanness is where you can win thousands by answering questions. Thousands of what, you may ask? And here's your host, Klaire Fluffle. That's me. I'm your host. I am not. Hi, and welcome to whatever name I'm giving this. Let's have some trivia. We'll start off simple. First question, is Kirby fun? You guessed it. Yes. Trust me, I know your answer. You don't even need to say it, and you're right. Second question, do I, Klaire Fluffle, make well-researched speedrunning Kirby videos about Kirby? You guessed correct again without having to say anything. See, isn't this game show so much fun? And lastly, the final question, is Hammer insanely busted for fighting bosses in Kirby games? Well, the answer to that one, it may not be what you expect. And since this is a game show where the participants don't get to answer, let me get into some specifics. Hammer, for those who don't know, is a Kirby copy ability that was designed to deal strong, powerful damage in a single hit. Over the years, it got more and more moves that added to what Hammer can do, but it's always been all reliable at absolutely destroying boss health bars. It can be slow, it can be hard to use, and it can even be some other third thing, but anyone who's ever used Hammer knows that it's an easy go-to for bosses. Heck, how many times have I, your gracious game show host, said this throughout the years? I mean, come on, it's Hammer. But is this actually true? Well, I'm not here to ruin anyone's fun. I do love spreading correct information on the internet. There have been some tough pills I've tried to get people to swallow over the years, and a lot of people refuse them. Boo-hoo, hoo. But this has been a topic I've been wanting to tackle for a long time. While it wasn't always this way, at some point, everyone knew something very rare that people on the most casual and most efficient end agree on, that Hammer was just the best in the business for beating bosses. So I'm here to ask, is it? I usually look to see if an ability is good enough and go from there. Think of what I do for my Copy Ability Spotlight series. And check out that series, by the way, if you want to see a more balanced approach to a video like this. You maybe even vote for Hammer in the comments of the most recent one if you think I'm being too much of a meanie pants in this video. I was saying something, right? Oh, right. We're not looking for good enough here. Best in class only. That's the reputation it has after all, right? If we grab our magnifying glasses and look at how quickly abilities can take out the bosses, we can figure out for sure if Hammer is a slammer. As far as answering the question of Hammer, I think it would be a lot more efficient, also to not step over a certain spotlight on the ability of Hammer that I may do someday, to split all of the games into categories to help give us a better idea on what Hammer is truly about. Thus, I do so decree, we'll be talking about Hammer in games with expansive movesets, Hammer in games with simplistic movesets, and Hammer in spin-offs. Nothing too fancy for that one, sorry. So I guess the best place to start would be the very beginning, Kirby's Adventure. And in this game, Hammer definitely earns its long-standing reputation of being good for bosses. You see it used in the 7-2 mini boss rush in any percent NMG, and no major glitches, a category that's pretty infamous for how Tornado dominated the whole thing is. Sure, in the any percent NSG, no stone glitch category, it's far outclassed by UFO, but you do need a glitch in order to make that work. Because of that, I'm willing to let that one slide. Unlike UFO, you can actually use Hammer for most boss fights and mini boss fights. So, all in all, a great start for Hammer's reign. Except it isn't, because Hammer in Adventure is not very good. Wait, what? But it was 7-2, and the boss killing, then there's no UFOing. Hammer has to be good here, right? Well, no, and the honest reason is because the 7-2 mini boss rush is a very happy coincidence for Hammer. It just so happens to have the 2 mini bosses that Tornado struggles with, Bugsy and the Rolling Turtle, that can grab Tornado out of its tornado-ness. And what ability are you offered right before Tornado would otherwise suffer? Yuppers, it's Hammer. If Tornado didn't have to worry about this whole grabbing out of your tornado-ness thing, I like the word tornado-ness, sorry, the boss fights would be way quicker with Tornado. And since we're talking about a full level here, unlike what we're going to be doing for the rest of the video, Tornado would save a pretty hefty amount of time navigating the rest of the level as quickly as it can. In the other games with small ability movesets, to define what these games are, if they don't remind you of Superstar, they probably count. Does Hammer live up to its insane name? Well, the answer is complicated. Well, not really, it's pretty much always no, but the exacts of why are complicated. Let's not get too insane right off the bat, though. What games are even left? There's Amazing Mirror, Nightmare in Dreamland, sorry, Squeak Squad, which absolutely belongs here, by the way. Sometimes hear other people say that it doesn't. Makes me very confuzzle-wuzzled, to use a scientific term. Oh, yeah, and there's also Forgotten Land. Fun games, me likey. And in this collection, it's outclassed by, let's see, Ball and Nightmare, several abilities in Squeak Squad, Crash in Forgotten Land, Smash in Amazing Mirror. If we include Tornado from Adventure, then that's all the simpler games that we see Hammer in, being outclassed. Believe it or not, Hammer's actually not in very many games overall, but that's something we'll get there when we get there. Don't leave, give me the watch time, I'm very desperate. You've heard this all before. That being said, it's kinda nice that the simplistic games have such a simplistic answer, right? So, about that, we talked about Adventure already, but in Squeak Squad, it's fairly handily the best against grounded bosses, and the issue is that there's a whopping 2 of them. In Forgotten Land, Toy Hammer is one of the best boss killers around, and while Crash is, the overall best, it's only because of Hammer's Super Jump, or HSJ, get ready to hear that a lot if you're gonna start speedrunning Forgotten Land, glitches everywhere. Letting Hammer glitch out of bounds and allowing Crash to be reliable and consistent. In Amazing Mirror, Hammer is a part of Smash's moveset, so it's still a part of what's making it the best. And in Nightmare, well, okay, it kind of stinks in Nightmare, but 4 out of 5, pretty good. Hammer may not be in the front-lit spotlight, but it is an incredible offensive support ability that helps with some crazy good time saves, and it has some unique ways of doing so in every different game. Can we really say that it's bad in this case? Ultimately, here's where I stand. In all of these games, minus Nightmare, Hammer ranges from good to excellent. But, I said this at the beginning, we're looking for a Hammer is the best, to see if the concept that Hammer absolutely destroys the bosses in these games to tiny little pieces is true. And while it's great for support, the therapist of copy abilities, if you will, is it actually the best? It's kind of an Amazing Mirror, kind of not, and otherwise, sorry, but the answer is no here. It's unfortunate for Hammer that Smash is an Amazing Mirror. I mean, I don't mind. The Smash ability rocks. I'm just saying. But even if we count it, that's 1 game of 5 here. Hammer is not the best in any of the others, continuing the rough start for Hammer's argument of being the best. But hey, you know the saying, the simpler they are, the harder they fall. Look it up. Plenty of people say this. Maybe someone said it. Yeah, I don't know. But when we look at the more complex games, the ones with more superstar-styled movesets, does Hammer get any better? I mean, I don't even have to keep you guys hanging on this one. Of course, Hammer is broken in all of these games. It's, well, alright, I guess it's pretty bad in Superstar for the most part, but we all know how it is in the other games, right? Superstar Ultra, Return to Dreamland, Triple Deluxe, Robobot, come on, it's so good! Hammer Flip became a household name in these games. Anybody can pick up Hammer and do well with it. It's broken, it's incredible for bosses, it's not actually the best for most of these. Oh my god, alright, let's become nerds together and break this down into 3 different subcategories. We'll be creatively bankrupt today and just call them by the most literal names that we can. Hammer is bad, Hammer is outclassed, and Hammer is the best. Hammer, no joke here, chat, or viewers, I guess if you don't know that I stream, that makes no sense, although you should check out my streams, I stream on YouTube by the way, is actually pretty bad in Superstar and Star Allies. I'm gonna make the case myself that I think Hammer is pretty bad in Return to Dreamland Deluxe also, but Day-to-Day's flexing his whole penis, and I don't know, I think Day-to-Day at least deserves a mention, mostly because I like him a lot, but that's beside the point. Speaking of segues, given how strict we're being here, my life gets way easier. Hammer is outclassed by, oh boy, Plasma and Superstar, Wheelie Rider and Superstar Ultra, Ninja and Return to Dreamland, Ice and Planet Robobot. I'll do Hammer a favor and skip over Star Allies. There's not as many as Star Allies, but still enough, including, Day-to-Day and Return Deluxe. Really, Hammer is only the best one in Triple Deluxe, where, okay, yeah, it's the best one there, and thinking. About time you don't have to think anymore, by the way. But 1 game out of 7, that's still a pretty big yikes. So, again, simple, right? Well, it's a bit simpler here compared to last time, but I still gotta yap about something, of course. Make my life more difficult, Hammer. You're supposed to make it easier. What the heck? Ugh. Anyway, given Hammer's reputation as the best, we've strictly been looking at what each ability can do in their own fastest recorded runs. That's a good way to judge what's best, right? And while that's most certainly true, there are some exceptions. Now, Return to Dreamland, for example, has the fastest recorded true arena run with Ninja, but if you look at the sum of best times, the best recorded times that are possible, and slap them together, whether or not they've all been done in a single run, to being a big ol' who cares, Hammer actually has a faster time. Or, in a case like Superstar Ultra, Wheelie Rider is completely useless without 2-player, giving Hammer back its #1 spot for single player. Similar to the simples, I'm not going to factor all of this stuff very much. Some of these are theoreticals, other are just kind of salad dressing on Hammer's unfortunate fate, and one is Triple Deluxe. We know that Hammer's the best in that one already, so we can just kind of move on, right? Lastly, before we answer the question gnawing at all of our minds, let's take a quick look at the spin-offs. Thankfully for Hammer, even though we're only looking at bosses here, all 5 of the spin-offs Hammer appears in have boss fights. That's convenient to say the very least, but after everything we've talked about, I bet it can't be a very good look for Hammer. I'm a bit worried to take a look here. I like Hammer a lot, but oh, it's actually the best for Super Kirby Clash and both of the Fighters games. Well, okay, in Fighters 2 story mode, it's not forever. It gets outclassed by Fighter for Chapter 5, but for Chapters 3 and 4, which, by the way, are the only chapters that you can even use the darn thing, yeah, it's the best. Of the 5 spin-offs, the only mildly contentious ones are Battle Royale and Clash Deluxe. And even Battle Royale, kind of what I implied, not really that controversial here. It's kind of a matter of whether or not you think Robo-Bonkers counts as a boss or not. I say it does. Battle Royale is amazing. I love that game. But Kirby Clash Deluxe, that's a little more straightforward. B-Mage, it's better. It's more efficient. Hammer, still good. Not the best. You've heard me talk about the song and dance all video. Hopefully I'm good at singing and dancing. I like Fire Emblem a lot, so I think we're in the clear there. Aside from Clash Deluxe, though, I'd say that, yes, Hammer is the best for the spin-offs all around. No reverse of how it's been going. Ain't that something? So, with all of this being said, the answer, as I keep jinxing for some gosh darn reason, seems pretty simple. Looking at Hammer in these games, despite a very impressive spin-off showcase, you'd think I'm gonna say that Hammer is honestly pretty bad. Well, okay, maybe bad is a stretch, it definitely is, but still. Actually, Hammer is quite excellent, but given the thesis of this video, judging whether or not Hammer is the literal best, like most people, myself included, make it out to be, we can at the very least say that it missed the mark. The fact that it's really good in all but, I don't know, what, 2 or 3 of them is kind of insane, but sad to say the hype around Hammer is way overblown. Right? So here's the thing. When asking the question of how good Hammer, we mostly look at ability solos, like I said before. It makes the most sense, but what if we removed that context and just kind of looked at, you know, the regular art of speedrunning that way more people do? I still don't think quantity of people doing it is all that important. I'm just using this as an example, okay? Suddenly, we're singing a very different song here. Look at any Kirby boss rush on speedrun.com that lets you use Hammer, and you're suddenly going from nearly no Hammer at all to still kind of a coin toss. Kind of depends on a lot of factors, but the point stands that you're gonna see Hammer way more than what I may or may not be implying here. But again, I have to keep bringing this up and keep being a meanie pants towards Hammer. Given its reputation, it should be able to come out on top regardless. It can be close for all I care. The fact that it loses out in so many games is enough for me to say that no, Hammer's reputation is not well-founded. If anything, I'd only really say that for the spin-offs, but even then, who's playing games like Fighters Deluxe or Battle Royale? Oh, I'm playing Battle Royale, okay? But hey, I'm sure a specific thought has entered some of your heads here, and yeah, the goal of this video was only kind of answered. It was a fun experiment for sure, but most of these games, if we increase the scope to like, I don't know, literally top 2 instead of top 1, and do include things like Hammer for Smash and Amazing Mirror, Hammer only falls short in, what, 4 games? Superstar, Nightmare in Dreamland, Star Allies, Return Deluxe? We can kind of knock off Star Allies and Return Deluxe if we ban DLC and include Day-to-Day in the mix too. I'm gonna count Sand as DLC, it's like literally not, but let me prove my point, please. All I did was prove that Hammer isn't the single best ability for beating bosses every single time, but big whoop. So it's the second best. Not to mention, it's way easier to use than most of these, opening the barrier of entry. I normally don't factor that, and I mean, I'm still not factoring it, but I know a lot of people watching are gonna think, these are really hard, I just wanna win with Hammer. And cool, that's fine. Thumbs up, I'm giving a thumbs up right now. On top of all of this, all of the other winners are usually one and dones. Tornado and Adventure, Plasma for Superstar, Ball for Kniddle, Smash for Amazing Mirror, Candy for Squeak Squad, Really Rider for Superstar Ultra, Ninja for Return to Dreamland, Ice for Planet Robobot, Magalore or Airbomb Spam for Star Allies, Crash for KFL, Sand for Return Deluxe. All of these have really silly acronyms that are very funny to say out loud. None of them are actually repeats, whereas Hammer places top 2 to top 3 in almost every game it doesn't already place top 1 in. So, while in a vacuum, haha, Kirby joke, get it? Haha! It's definitely not the best for most games, but if you put everything together and look at this series as a whole, yeah, I think we could say that Hammer is the best, at least for the boss fights. It's just not the best at being the best. My head hurts. You know, Hammer may be strong, but you know what's even stronger? And not the sponsor of today's video, because I don't have a sponsor, but my pup trains on Patreon and my YouTube mempops. As always, I am super... Oh, sorry, just 1 second. Okay, as always, I am super appreciative of their support, and you can consider becoming a pup train or mempup via the links in the description for neat perks such as exclusive content. That exclusive content could really be anything, so please consider supporting. Special thanks to my head-patting, Fluffle fan, Pup Trins and Mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, Nightfall, and Galaxy Fan for I love you all! Something weak and or bizarre pun relating to Hammer! Bye!